Alright, team, welcome back. Day 7, Selenium free training, and this will be our last session as part of what we wanted to accomplish. So, the first thing that we'll try and take a look is the basic construction of a JUnit code and what is JUnit really. Alright, that's important for you to know. Second is how the Selenium web driver works. Some of the fundamentals there. A few commands and important lines of code to understand. And then finally, going forward, what you need to do. These are the 4 main areas, team, that I would like to focus on. So the first thing that we will get to is the basic construction of a JUnit code. To explain that, it's very important for you to understand what a Java code is and what then is a JUnit code. So in a typical Java code or a Java class, there is a function called as a main method. So if I right click on the source and go to new and say class, I can create a simple main class. Okay, main class. This is a name that I am giving to it. It is not a name that is predefined. That is the name of the Java class that I am creating. And in this, I will check this option called public static void main. So any Java program typically looks like this. There is a class, and that is the name of your Java class. Then there is a main method. So anything that I do here in the main method is the starting point. So I'll delete the default comment here, and let us say I just want this method to print a few statements into the console saying that before I test something, let's prepare, and then let us test it, and then let us clean up after the test. So if I write like this, before test, do a setup. Now, why is it that there are red lines, and why is it there are a do word in a different color? Any specific keyword that Java recognizes as a command or as a predefined word in its library, it does a specific operation based on that. For example, public means something. So if I want to name something as public, I cannot because it is already used. So is a word called class, static, void, and many more that you come across. This is part of the library, it's part of the syntax. You cannot use it for something else. Now, this is an English statement that I'm putting forward to talk about what is it that I want to do. Then we will talk about how we want to execute it. So these things are called as comments. Comments are those non-executable statements that are present in your code to give you an opportunity to put some notes saying that I wrote this code, or I would want to do this here. I modified this code on so and so date for this reason, or I do not want this code to get executed. To do that, you put 2 forward slashes. And as soon as I put 2 forward slashes, at the beginning, you will see it turning into green. and this code will not get executed by Java method. And then next I want to say, let us test, and then finally clean up after the test. So what typically happens here, team, is the fact that just like, let us say, we are a manufacturing company like Tesla, and we've come up with the latest version of our electric car. So before we put it into production line and manufacture them, we want to test it, a prototype. So how do we test it? So to make the test happen, first I need to prepare the car, get it loaded with the right tires, fuel, and every equipment that is necessary, put it on a track, test track, and that is my preparation. Actual riding or driving of the car around the test track is my actual test, which is collecting information and which is saying that at this speed it is giving me so and so mileage, and if I go and make a turn at this speed it performs this way. If I try and brake from 60 miles per hour, it is taking me 2.5 seconds to come to a complete stop. Those are the parameters you will collect. And the cleanup is after you finish the test, you want to take the car back to its laboratory and try and understand more about it and say that, okay, test is completed now, let's clean up the car. So these are the three most important aspects for any test team: preparing for the test, executing the test, and cleaning up after the test. So in a Java main method, there is a concept or a statement called as system.out.println. It is a predefined method in Java which lets a user print anything before the test. And then similarly, I will copy this line and I'll say perform the test, and finally after the test. Now these are simple statements or commands that we're giving a Java code, and this is some of the simplest things that you can find at a very beginning level for core Java T. There's that hello world kind of a programs that we've seen. It's very similar to that, just a few more statements. So now when I save this and I execute it, notice what comes in this panel called as console. Console is a panel within Eclipse that gives user a feedback of what is happening. So whatever I gave within the double quotes of the system.out.println has been put here. Now this is a main method. This is how it is done. Now let's talk about a simple JUnit class or JUnit program. So I'm going to create another class here and I'm going to call this as JUnit program, or class is fine. I am not going to check the public static void main. For every Java program to run, it needs this main method. So when it starts to execute, it will start executing from the first line within the main method. The JUnit class.java works a little differently. What it says is, here, this is what JUnit is. JUnit is nothing but a Java framework created to assist in unit testing. Now, what is unit testing? Who is not aware? I want the audience to say, I do not know what is unit testing, if you're not aware. If you're aware, you can say, I know what is unit testing. I'm not saying if you're a master at it, but if you know the concept or not. Can you all answer for me, please? Looks like most of you know it. Few of you do not know it. It's a very simple concept team. Developers' biggest job is to ensure they are building a product or a program very close to the requirements. So any deviations from the original requirements or non-compliance where something is not working is considered as a defect. Now the defects can be captured at my, if let's say I'm a developer at my end, or if not, there'll be a testing team which will capture it, right? A simple paradigm or an example that I can take is, let us say you're cooking and you're hosting a dinner for family and friends. There were 10 people coming. Now, while you do the preparation, won't you try and check the taste of it if all the ingredients is right? And if there's something else that you should add before you serve it on the table, right? And an expert chef, as the experience goes, knows that he or she does not need to taste anymore. But then for someone who's still not there yet or does not have the confidence, needs to keep testing. So unit testing is that part of the testing that the developer does at a code level, at a program level, to make sure that nothing is defective before it goes into a total regression or a complete functional testing and so on, other types of testing. So that becomes a developer's job to do unit testing. So this framework was given, it's nothing but a Java framework. When I say Java framework, it has been built based on Java, but specifically for testing that needs to be done at a developer's end. It has something called as annotation scheme, and that's the core. Annotations are predefined terms and they serve a specific purpose. The three annotations that are important for you are add before, add test, and add after. Add before basically is something like this: public void before my test. What is it that I want to do before my test? And then similarly, I want to actually print the same statement that's here. Very important concept team. So focus on this because this is very critical when it comes to interviews and so on. The primary reason being that you will need to have great conceptual knowledge on these. That will give you good leverage. Then public void during my, I'll just write this as my test. Let me write the code and then I'll explain it to you. Public void after my test. And this is the thing I do after my test. So this code is very similar to my main method and it will do exactly the same. All right. There are a couple of things that are very important for you to note. One is, what is this kind of style of writing where the first character is lowercase or the first word is lowercase, the first character of second word onwards is uppercase. So M is uppercase, T is uppercase. Here only T is uppercase. Here M and T again are uppercase. It's a specific style of writing. And that's called as camel case T. These are some standards that every organization tries to follow. It is not necessarily the only standard. You have multiple standards, but this is one of the standards. So this kind of a nomenclature of style of doing things sticks with an organization, and when you get into an organization, you need to kind of adopt to that nomenclature or style of programming and working on not just coding, on many aspects. All right, be it naming of variables, parameters, how you write scripts, or how you name your test cases, all of those things. Now, is this program syntax error free, or does it have any syntax error? It does. You can see the red cross marks here, here, here. Looks like there are 3 errors. And if you're not sure, you can always look at this right side where it'll tell you exactly which line of code is it pointing to. If you click on it, it'll take you there. Okay. Now, why do you think this is existing? This is JUnit code. It's part of Java. It's a Java framework. So should it not be recognizable? Of course it will be. The 2 things that are needed is, one is the referenced library that we added. So we already have JUnit. Though it is there, that means that I purchased everything and put it at my home for my long trekking trip. But only when I'm going trekking will I collect. But when I'm going to, let's say, have a cards game with friends or something, I will not carry that equipment. But I've bought it, I've purchased it, kept it at home. That's your library team. And in here, what you need to do is take your mouse over, and this is where Eclipse becomes extremely beautiful to work with and makes it very user friendly. You take your mouse over it, it gives you the option to import. Import before. What does that mean? That this statement will now get added at the top. It tells to the Java program that, listen, I have a huge library, but I want a book from it. I just want one book. Yes, I have access to the entire library. I took the membership, but I want only one book right now. Similarly, I go to Ed Test. Oh, you know what? I need another book. Just take your mouse over it. It'll give you the suggestions, tips to fix it. So I don't actually have to remember the exact syntax for how to write import statements or what is the exact word for it to use for each of them. This basically says in org JUnit get after, get before, get test. Now my code understands this. So if I execute, it should do exactly the same thing as my main Java class. Any difference that you see, team, in the execution between my main Java class and a JUnit class? Any difference? Output is the same. It was a little bit more complicated to write. Any other differences? Indentations are something, again, some of these things we'll keep learning, though I'm implementing because it's a style that we develop as programmers. Yeah, one is there's no main method, not void method. It's called main method. Void is just saying that that method does not return anything. Okay, and these are the concepts that we need to really understand much more deeper. It's got this amazing simple thing where it times the amount of time, seconds it took to execute. If there are multiple tests, what worked, what did not. And it gives us errors and all that in a green bar status. While, so that is JUnit kind of after test execution report. If I do the same for main class, one quick simple look back at it. Does it give us anything like that? No, it just went executed it. So this kind of simple things that have been put together into JUnit makes it easier for a developer to execute unit testing. Now, why is it that it is important or advantage of before, at test and after test? Primarily what it says is the whole focus is my test team. That is my focus point. But before I do execute any test, I need to ensure that this code is executed. And after I complete executing any test, I need to ensure that this code is completed. Now, when I'm taking the car into the test track, am I testing it for only one thing? No, multiple things. How is the stability? How is the smoothness? How is the engine sound? I'm testing for multiple things during one execution, right? So I can have multiple at test within my JUnit. Just writing this at test before that method gives it an annotation that this is a test. It is a signal to Java that this is a JUnit annotation. It has a specific meaning and the order and sequence within which it will get executed. Now before I take my mouse over lines 17 and 23, what do you think is the cause for this error, team? What could it be? You know, all these programming languages are absolutely stupid. Stupid because they have no intelligence within themselves, be it a real or artificial. They have absolutely zero, null. It just does what you are. It just follows orders. But it is absolutely brilliant at following orders. So it is as smart as you are, but it can continue to do the same orders repeatedly over and over again in a much more faster and efficient way. Okay? At the same time, it does not assume anything. It needs things to be clear. It says, how can you call both these tests as my test, my test? Tomorrow the results will come and you'll say that my cholesterol, there is X which is 20, there is Y which is 200. Now what is X, what is Y? No one knows it. So every test needs to have a unique name. So you cannot have two tests with the same name within the class. So I'll say this is my test 1, my test 2. Now, can everyone take a minute, think very clearly and tell me what will happen when we execute this test? What will get printed? Take 30 seconds, but write your answer completely one time and hit enter. What will get printed? And while you're doing that, I just want to mention one thing, team. Do you see the amount of detail, attention, and effort that I'm putting to write the code? Is it because it's a training and I need to teach you? Maybe, but more importantly because it is a practice that we develop that will give us better results. So even if I have to write a code, a new code that I am working on, I will follow the same protocols. I will still take that effort of keeping things clear, neat. For example, to make sure we understand which code is indented, like tab space, because it's part of another block of code. And as we go through different methods, we have the same thing. We keep indenting the code. Now, remember the basic logic I said. Before every test, the add before gets executed. After every test, the add after gets executed. So what should come? Let me ask another simpler question. How many statements will get printed in the console panel after we execute? Four, three, four, three, four lines, 6 lines, four, 3 lines. Okay. Can there be two correct answers in this? And these are the kind of concepts I'm saying, team, that lack within most of us. And that is where you need to have the right kind of a foundation laid at every point. And this is at such a beginning level. If you can master piece by piece make that initial effort. That is where your results will come. Just checking if this specific participant in this group. No, she ain't here. Alright team. The answer, correct answer is 6. %90 of you said 3 or 4. Just a handful, I can count on my hand. They will say, they said 6. Let's see. How many statements here team? 5, right? Then let's scroll up a little bit. Now how many statements? 6. How? And that simple fundamental concept should shake your root of thinking that, oh man, what just happened? How could it be 6? Why is it not 3 or 4 like I guessed? It is 6. Check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Very simple team. Let me take this notepad and a highlighter and explain. This is my before. Okay. This is my after. Alright. I have test 1 and I have test 2. Now, when I execute test 1, before that I need to execute this, and after I execute test 1, I need to execute this. Again, when it comes to test 2, before I execute this, I need this, and after I execute test 2, I need this. This is how it works, team. Unlike the real world where it's very tough to prepare it again and again for each test where we're doing multiple things, we want the software world to have that freedom. So there's a lot of things that you could do before and after. So if I have one statement here, one here and two here statement, one statement here. So 1, 2, 3, actually pointing my finger, you can't see it. So this way you'll see before, test, after, before, test, after. Now is it understood, team? Anyone having a question on it further? Is it clear for everyone? Why is it 6 statements? Like the name says, before every test do this, after every test do this. There are 2 tests. So there will be 6 statements that are coming out, or 6 pieces of execution. Now let us take this understanding and write a very, very simple WebDriver code. I'll just call this as WebDriver Basics. There's nothing complicated at all on this team. Very simple, similar. I'll have add before. You know what? I'll copy this. Let's do some shortcut. Copy. Paste. So can I use the same names? Yes, you can, because it's in a different class. Inside the same class you cannot, but in a different class you can. And these are the questions that you keep asking yourself and keep doing research. Google it. But remember one thing, team, it's a very strong statement, very important. Do not try to learn programming to become a developer. It's not bad, it's just a very long process. Learn coding enough to be an amazing automation tester. That's it. Fair enough, everyone? The minute you try and say, I need to master coding, it ain't easy, team. If suddenly someone comes and says, hey, let's go climb the Everest, is it going to be easy for me? No. My body might not be built, my training is not built, my lifestyle has not made me. But maybe let's go climb the hill. Okay, sure, let me try it. So you just aim for the hill, not for the Mount Everest. Sorry, team. Unfortunately, my health and voice have been perpetually bad. It's taking time to heal, and I'm not giving it enough rest. Believe me, I want to take someday a month off and just not talk anything or do any training. The only challenge, what happens with training is the amount of stress I put on my voice during training, because I need to get that energy and voice to pass it on. Otherwise, in an online training where I don't see the audience, it is very easy for me to make the audience sleep to glory, just sit back in the chair, relax, take a nap, unless I'm speaking up loud. All right, let's get back to our story. So I'm going to delete one at testing. Now, let us look at our code that we got yesterday for the forgot password of anyaught and see how does it look. There's import statements. Now we understand what are import statements. Briefly at least, correct? Then private, boolean, string, WebDriver, string buffer. No, bounces. I don't understand what they are, and that's fine. Hey, there's an ad before here. Do you notice this? Then public void setup. What is throws exception? I don't know. Ignore mode. But there are few steps here which is good, necessary ones. I'm going to copy this whole thing and put it out here. So we are testing anyaught application, correct? As part of this. Now, do you see anything wrong in this that hits you in the face? Anything that's wrong, team? Syntax error, yes. We know how to fix it. Take your mouse over and it'll tell you, hey dude, you forgot to define a local variable called driver. Okay, I'll say create driver. It's created a Firefox driver. But then I can't do it here. I need to do it at a global level. So it's a globally defined web driver. Driver. So I need to say this import web driver. And then base URL, this has to be defined. So I'll just say string base URL. And syntax errors seem to have disappeared. Anything else that seems odd, especially on line 17 to give you a clue? We are testing anyaught. Where did Amazon come from here? Right? It does not adversely affect the team, but it does say that something is not right for us on the face. It's just the way Selenium IDE does things, where it recognizes a base URL from what you've done earlier, puts it in the code, and then lets you navigate to a different URL when you want. Now, what we've done in these 4 steps is, the first 2 steps is to say that, hey, you know what? I need to run this on Firefox, and Firefox is in location mentioned on line 15, and I'm creating a new object called driver. That's the name I'm giving. I can change it. I can say, you know what? I don't want it to be called my driver. I'll say it's my naming for a driver. So you are in the control of saying how you want to name things. So everything is becoming mighty. Now, in my main test, what do I want to do? I want to first navigate to that. I'll say mighty Sorry, I had to mute myself, team. Alright, so my D dot, as soon as I hit dot, it gives me the different options that I can do with an object called driver. It's like saying if I have a cell phone, smartphone, I know what a smartphone can do because any smartphone, any object of a smartphone belongs to a class called smartphone, and there are common methods for it. Like you can surf, you can text, you can WhatsApp, call, check weather, download apps, so many things you could do, right? Similarly out here. So here there is a concept called navigate, and this will help me to navigate. If you do not know the statements, these are the WebDriver statements. Do not get alarmed. Look at the code that you generated. Alright, so this is ad before, and in the ad test, oh, very simple, cool, this looks good. Driver dot blah blah blah. I'm not going all the way till assert equals and all that because that is where the programming starts, and I'm not a great follower or believer of asserts and so on because we will do it at programming level where we have much more control with try catch blocks, if statements and so on. But here are the main steps. So I copied this and I'm going to paste them here. Do I need to change anything out here, team? Everyone with me? Do I need to change anything out here? Yes. When I named it as myD, how can I write it as driver? Correct? Now, this is the code for my test. So myD.navigate, instead of that it's saying, let's use myD.get this URL. What is line number 2017? The whole concept of, if you remember, is what is it that you want to do? Where is it that you want to do? That needs to get addressed. And that is what these statements do. This code here, oops, highlight. This code here is saying what it needs to do. Like click on a element or send keys into an element. It's like typing, or clear what is already there in the element. The other code that you're seeing out here is to find an element first. Where is it located? So let me find something first, then I can do something with it. All this will happen where? It will all happen on a browser, and that driver or MIDI that we're calling is a reference to the browser. So Selenium WebDriver is nothing but you have your browser. Come on, where's my pen? It's not working. Okay, see, main thing is a browser team. It's the application. Okay, now Java code takes Selenium WebDriver, which has the commands that it can interact with the browser. Alright, so it says in the browser find an element like this button and then click on it. So a browser has a name that's called MyD. Dot find an element called button, then click on it. This is the simplest syntax that you'll find for any Selenium WebDriver command team. In the browser, find an element, perform the action. That's what it is. That's all. Be it capture the text, be it select from a drop-down list, be it go to a URL, and so on. All that happens within the browser. So MyD is nothing but a web driver that is connected to this specific browser. If I launch another browser, then it is MyD2, and that can point to this. But this MyD is dedicated to point to this browser. It starts and ends with this operation. Now, at the end of the code, I want to do something. What do I want to do? Hey, I open a browser. Let's go close it. It's a myd.quit. Now, here is a simplest form of a neat looking WebDriver code. But why did Selenium IDE give you such a complex, more tougher looking, many more lines of code trying to do the same thing? Cause of the simple fact that it's got wanted to make sure everything's correct than easy. So they focus on the correctness than the ease of learning for a beginner. And in this, the whole concept is that we are trying to learn, take those baby steps. And believe me, team, what we've done in the last 7 hours is a very, very critical, important foundation base. From here, you could go about going into any direction. Now, what happened? WebDriver basics. Why did it run? What happened here, team? Why did I get this again? The same six steps. Anyone can help me with an answer? Sorry, team, for the cough. Why did we get this, team? The reason I'm saying it's not that I do not know the answer. I want you to start wearing the thinking cap, to start asking the questions. What is going wrong? Where is it going wrong? Can I even do programming? Didn't save the changes. Okay, good option. Let's say I save all. I clicked. See, it's already saved. You run the same JUnit class before. Oh, see, this JUnit class. That's the name of the class. What do we want to run? We want to run WebDriver. This is the one. So why is it that it's running that? So to make sure, you can go to run and say run the following with the focus on that. It should execute it accordingly. So now it's opened up JUnit. Now it should launch the browser and start executing as per the commands provided. Remember, team, in yesterday's session, there was a syntax error that came up, and not syntax, sorry, my bad, a runtime error where it's saying I couldn't find an element. Sure, it didn't find, and you'll continue to get a lot of issues. And that is where we build the skill to debug the code, ensure how the small defects get cleared, and do something bigger. If you look at the holistic picture so far, so much of effort to do one simple test case does not sound logical at all. Then this is the start to automation, which will give us greater, better return on our investment, being time, energy, people, systems, skill, pain, everything going into as investment, which gives us a better ERA, efficiency, reusability, accuracy. That's all it is. And this is the starting point for it. So it told me it took 52 seconds. A lot of time took to launch the browser itself. Then it did launch, the operations went quickly, and we finished here. Now there was one step which we did not copy. That was to click. Where is the click button? After we send keys, I did not click on it. Why didn't I click on it? Where is that? Can we write that directly out here? The click on the button. Now, I am lazy. I do not want to manually open that application, enter all these details and come to that page. How do I keep the browser open at the end of the test? Okay, I don't want it to quit at the end. Keep it open. So let's comment this temporarily and rerun. So now I'm using the tool to help me do something faster while I sit back and relax. Everyone with me, team? All right, thank you. Team, after this session, I will request each of you to fill a small survey, maybe offline. I'll not push you to do it here, to give me an understanding of how it went. The one feedback I will give you an answer straight away is it was too slow. It specific reason, because I needed to ensure that every important basic concept is covered. But other than that, like any other things, good, bad, give us feedback, let us know. But there's one question I'll seek an answer right now. Before I do that, let me look at. So now I have performed till line 29 where I've entered the email address. What do I need to do next? I need to click on this button. How do I do it? To do anything, I need to know what I need to do, where. So to do where, right click on it. Inspect element. There's no firebug here, and that is absolutely fine, no problem if it doesn't have it. And here I have. Is there an ID? No. Is there a name? Yes. So if there's ID or name, you can try and use it. Okay. So I'll take the risk and do it here instead of re-verifying it with Selenium ID to say find the target. Help me write that statement, team. See, now we're writing our own statement. My D dot, what comes next? Let's go find the element. By dot, which method? I want to use the name option. And what is the value of that name that I want to give? It is submit. That is the name in the code that the developer wrote. Dot, what do I need to do on it? Click on it. And when I click on it, it will perform that operation. Now let's see if it clicks on it and it finds that message. See how interesting it gets, team, now. So slowly, gradually, at a very gentle pace, we're taking it forward. We're not rushing through, because if you're an expert programmer, this is fine. But you still need to understand how WebDriver works. But if you're a new programmer, it should not be a nightmare for you. And team, we're almost towards the end of the session. I want to show a couple of more lines of code. So email is not found is a message that we want to verify. That's a test case. So if there are questions, keep it handy. Do not put them on chat yet. But when we start it, I want you to do it. Now I want to verify if that message is coming or not. Already there is a code here. So I'll take that option and copy this till here. Just the code, base code, and put it here. And if you notice, team, I could have lived without having to look at that code and write the whole code. I did a little copy paste because it was efficient. I didn't have to remember everything. And honestly, I don't remember every statement. I don't need to. I didn't need to overcrowd my mind. Now, I will say this is a string called expected text equals this value. Email ID, email is not found. Now, I'll say another string actual value, actual text equals driver.find element. Why is driver red line? Because we called it myD. I need to continue by XPath, and the method we're performing is getText. What getText does is it returns the text that is present in the element found and puts it into this variable. Now what I want to do is I'll put simple if statement and say if expected text dot equals actual text, then sys I will say my test passed else I'm going to say my test failed. Now have I explained you how an if statement works or what it is? No, but just showing you what we need to do to make it a complete test. And at the end, I don't want to see the operation or the browser being present. I want everything closed. I just want the results. because we're pretty busy with our IT world schedule, and this tool should help us get me the results, and I should trust it for accuracy as well. Every word that I'm saying, team, in this training in the last 7 sessions is of very important uh, criticality when it comes to your thing. So did the test pass? Test passed. And after the test, let's say I changed something. Email address not found. Someone came in and said, hey, in the new version, let's make it more obvious, saying that the email ID or address is not found, not just email is not found. If I say email is not found, that someone sent me an email and I did not get the email, I did not find the email. The more apt answer is email address is not found. So the functionality changed of the application. Developers supposed to make the change. So we changed it in our test, and we want to execute and see if this is happening or not. So all I do is I rerun this test with the change that it is supposed to be present, and I'll check to see if it is actually done or not, and I will sit back, let it run, and get the result. So team, with that we come to a conclusion of our Selenium free training that we've done over the last few days. Hopefully it's given you a good platform to get started and feel very comfortable about it, and say that yes, now you're ready to take the next steps. Because there's a big mindset block that we all carry when we try and change our career path or line or try and learn new things. Be it anything in world, testing, development, dance, riding, a new sport, uh, surfing, anything, team, swimming, we have that restriction, we have the filters that we set in front of our eyes. And these kind of basic concepts should give you that boost in confidence. So team, while you prepare your questions, and you're also welcome to raise your hands, give a feedback, or put a question forward, I want to launch a poll that I'll quickly create. In the meanwhile, please go ahead and kindly put in your questions in the chat, everyone. So the question that I want to create is, was this training helpful? Simple question. It gives me a kind of a satisfaction level that you give. Yes, very much, one option. Kind of, no, not at all. Just 3 options, team, that I want to put as a common poll and kind of hear from you. Because the goal was not to make you a master in Selenium, the goal was to get you started with Selenium and what are the fundamentals that you need to really learn. And from here is the next directions that you take. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to launch this out while you're all putting your questions so you can help me answer. So team, the poll is in front of you on the screen. You can click on it and provide your answer. It is just a simple one, takes you about 10 seconds, so I'll expect everyone to kindly do that. I'll give you another 15 seconds to fill it, and I'll take a look at the questions meanwhile that you have. Anything that you have throughout this session is fine. So one common question that I keep getting is when will Selenium paid courses start? I believe it's the 15th. That's the date we're planning. And for some of you who are in a hurry, I would definitely like to let you know that you can get started and watch. And then there's one thing that I thought I'll mention after the poll. I'll tell you a proven way to master Selenium. I'm going to talk about that. All right, team. I've got about 77% votes in. Can I request the final 20% to also put it in, please? So I can close the poll and I can share it with you all, what the audience feels. It does not have your name, so you can be as open as you want, please. All right, I'm closing the poll now in 5 seconds. Thank you. And here are the results that you've all come up with. So 87% of you have mentioned yes, very much. Thank you so much, team. 13% of you said kind of, and would love to hear your feedback as to what I could have done better, how this could have helped you, what changes we could have done to make it easier for you. All right. Glad that 0% of you said it's not been very helpful. It's a good feeling to have that. And let me go to the questions now after hiding this poll so I can start taking it. But before that, a proven way to master Selenium. And I've been doing this for a long time, many years, right? First is take an earlier batch, live batch videos. Watch them like a movie, end to end. That will be about 20 hours of effort. Do not practice, just take notes in a book on the side. Then repeat the same with a new batch. This time start practicing. Okay. So what this does, team, it's like, before you start to, let's say, go into the cricket ground and start playing, maybe watch a few games. Then you can get onto the pitch and start playing. And this will give you a little bit more confidence. It will give you the entire agenda of what's coming, and you know exactly that, okay, this concept I understood, this was a confusing area for me, let me focus more, and so on. It requires at least 2 attempts, team, to really get. Even masters will take 2 attempts. I took at least 3 or 4 to really get it right. But at that time when I was learning, I didn't have a great guide or a book or videos to help me in a very structured manner. So a lot of time I spent wasting. And when I say watch it like a movie, it's like Netflix, team. Most of you are aware what Netflix is, right? When you're watching a movie, what do? At the max, you have a break, you pause it, you go, do your thing, come back and watch it. You do not try and keep repeating a scene over and over again or fast forward, because let it go as a flow. It's not that important. It's just a movie. Same thing here, team. It's just a movie. Watch it like that. You'll get a good understanding, the basic overview, and then take another batch video and get started. So if you're someone who's planning to get started, then join, watch, like I said, get ready for the live batch. That's the best solution that I can give you. All right, everyone. Okay, let me see questions now. Can you all see my screen? Can you all see my screen? No? Why? Oh, sorry. I was writing these statements and thank you for letting me know. I just wrote this team. What I just spoke, I've also written it. All right. Okay, let me see questions, team. And if you need to speak up, more than welcome to raise your hand so I can unmute you. Just going up a little bit. Why is it showing the test failed in console? I'm guessing you're referring to this, Saurabh, because we changed it. We said the new functionalities, email address is not found, is the expected result. The developers did not change it, so the test failed. Where can we find the recordings of this session? Same questions over and over again, team. Why? Why do you need that spoon feeding? Why can't you be self-sustaining and proactive enough to find your solution? I won't even answer that question. Go figure it out yourself. Where are the videos? Why do I need to spoon feed you, team? It's a habit that you need to get off. You really need to take charge of your life. It's not that it's not available. They are. Go find it where they are. When are the regular classes starting? From date and time, please. Archana, exact schedule I don't have it yet. We'll be starting soon, tentatively the 15th of June, and let's work on that. Thank you, Ranjit, for the feedback. Why do we need Gecko driver here? A good question. What happens is, see, Selenium needs to talk, right, to different browsers. Each browser works in a unique way. So let's say there is Firefox. It works differently. Chrome works differently. IE, Safari, Opera, they all work differently. While Selenium WebDriver is common, it comes with common commands. It builds kind of small plugins for each browser. And the one for Firefox is called the Gecko driver. And so on. Then you have the Chrome driver. Then you have the Internet Explorer driver. It's giving you a little bit more additional plugins. Right. Let's see. When will Selenium, that I've answered. Where can we get again, Brad? Sorry, team, bad questions. They're there on the website. They're there on the YouTube channel. You should go find it. I'm sure you must be a sincere person, very caring. Okay, just can't. I'm just trying to avoid any messages that are not relevant to what we do. But thank you, Sony, for your feedback. In few cases, I've seen you not saving the changes that you incorporate, but on running the set changes, test case was executed with the change. Why is it so? Sure. So in Eclipse, what happens is when you start using it, it gives you the pop-up. Do you wish to save the changes before execution? Then you have a yes and no button. And then there's a small checkbox. It says save all changes before every run. That I checked it. Once I checked that, then it will not ask me to save the code before execution, because as soon as I hit run, it will save it and execute it. What's the criteria to go in for JUnit or TestNG? Good question, but a long answer. All right, I'll tell you what my criteria is for it. Both do almost the same thing, team. But TestNG gives me a little bit more breathing space. It gives not breathing space, it just has a little bit more features, a few more features that are more to do with getting a more detailed test report. It will also help me do parallel test execution, and these couple of things are critical enough to kind of consider TestNG. All right. The training has given me hope that I can make it up. Thank you so much, Sabita. Let's see, any other questions? Team, do not disturb me with personal questions, please. We could always talk offline. We are unable to see. Okay, I share the screen now. What will be the max member count for a paid batch? Max may be 1,000. Karthikeyan, I don't know. I've not achieved that yet, but max will be 1,000 because that's what GoToWebinar allows. But typically, I get about 50, 60 students in each batch. ACT certification test 9:30. Oops, sorry. I think, yeah, if it's scheduled, then Ashna, I don't know if you're there. If it's still there, the certification test, then we can go ahead with it after this, I guess. When will you start?
I'm about to start it. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I got one feedback that I should read out. The last couple of sessions could have been more elaborate. This is from a Selenium beginner's perspective. Sure, Sabita, good point. I think I could have done it. Then I believe, see, this is exactly what I planned, how much I planned for it, because being elaborate is going in depth and it'll take time. I initially, like you figured out, planned only 5 hours, but then we did 7 hours because I still needed to accomplish it. Now, for example, JUnit basic fundamentals was never part of the plan, but it was required for you to get a good understanding. Why are there curly brackets in the lines where codes are not present? Yeah, good question. That's called a block of code in a programming language. With Java, it's with curly braces. What it does, it says that, hey, this is a block of code. It belongs to a specific owner. For example, in this case, this belongs to the if statement. Out here, it belongs to my test, these curl brackets. But those are the concepts, team, where we need to go deeper into the programming aspect. Before the paid sessions begin, please let us know what we need to practice to understand the class better, or what all we need to learn and come prepared to help us to become a master. Sure, Maria, so I put that message, I believe, that came in before I wrote the steps. I will have my team share those details with you. Okay. Why is the console showing JSM failed in red? Note, it was before the email address code. Yeah, I'm not sure, Maria. There's a lot of steps that get executed for the web driver, and that will happen because of that. And again, we're not going in depth on the, sorry, what was that? Each of those aspects. That is an ignorable feature as long as the Gecko driver gets launched and so on. Red in this case did not mean that there's an error. Red just meant that it's a print statement coming from the Gecko driver. Many of the members had to leave because they're going on to join the NEOT certified tester certification exam. So looks like there are a few more questions, and I think this will continue to go on for a while. But what I can recommend or do is, for every video, every session that we did, there is a Q&A discuss forum. You can go through that and kind of put your answers, questions there. The whole community can respond, including our tech support team. Wow, a lot of questions still. Ashna, okay, Ashna had to leave. I'll coordinate with my team to try and put everything together. So kind of give you a good message on this, and any FAQs that we can put together, I'll do that. NEOT, yes, is an open source tool. Looks to me like JUnit is a part of WebDriver functionality. No, Archana, it's not part of WebDriver. JUnit is totally a Java framework. We're just using WebDriver within JUnit to make things happen. Is NEOT being used in industry by big companies? No, Saurabh, it is not. But if you ask me a question, will it start to get popular? I believe so. That's the vision. Will I be able to write code after the live paid classes? With that question, I will give you a straight answer. You'll never be able to write a code. Not with training, not with the best tutor in the world. You'll start to write the code when you start to write the code. As to how many times you prepare to fail, not get frustrated when you get a run error. It should bring a smile to you because that's your main teacher. But yes, we will guide you, we will motivate you, we'll tell you what to learn, what to expect. That takes care of 60-70% of your learning. And then as you practice, it'll keep taking you further. All right, everyone. So if I've not answered a question, maybe it was not relevant, or maybe it was not part of this specific scope of this activity. Thank you all. Thank you so much for your patience and being part of this training. I enjoyed it, and I hope it made sense to you as well. We'll definitely keep you posted with the schedule and so on, and we'll take it from there. There's one question from Sony. I'm a very good Selenium IDE tester. Can I be a good Selenium WebDriver tester? Sure, why not? If you've taken the first step and you've done it well, so now taking it to the next level is just a little bit more upgrade. So that first step is very important. Selenium IDE is a great start, and I wanted everyone to start there. Now WebDriver, take it gradually, slowly, in the same direction. You'll do it well. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great weekend, and see you back in a future webinar or a training program. Thank you, everyone. Bye now. Take care. Thanks all.